Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Smoko podcast. My name is Alexis Armstrong, your host. Nice to meet you. The Smoko podcast is the place to celebrate and highlight women, trans women, and non-binary folk working within STEM and trade occupations. And so please tune in, join us, take a break. We're on Smoko. Today, we're extremely lucky to be joined by the lovely Dr. Stella Kaftka, who is a physicist and astronomer. She has been an executive director for a nonprofit called AAVSO, which is the American Association of Variable Star Observers. She is also currently the CEO and director of the AMS, which is the American Meteorological Society, which I'm having a little bit of trouble saying, but AMS. And so we're going to talk all things astronomy. We're going to talk about AAVSO. We're also going to talk about AMS. And it is just, I'm so excited to learn more because I know nothing about astronomy. So thank you so much, Stella, for coming on the show. I'm really excited for this conversation.
It's really a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, the privilege is all ours. It really, really is, Stella. And maybe to start us off, could you kind of walk through maybe how you discovered this field? Because I know you have a bachelor's in physics, and then you have both a MSc and a PhD in astronomy, and then you have a
Mhm.
double minor in physics and geophysical science. Could you kind of walk through how you fell in love with the field of astronomy? How that happened?
You know, the way that I hear you saying that, I'm thinking I was trouble, wasn't I was trouble. I was trouble from earlier. That's actually true. I was wondering this kid said I was asking all the really annoying questions, why this works and why this is happening and how it's happening. One of those kids that was a terror in the kitchen was trying to break things and put things in. So I mean, my parents, well, how they survived the Stella Phenomenon while they were growing up is a mystery. But they encouraged it, right? It's the same
Mm,
thing with me and my brother. They encouraged asking questions. Back in the day, and I'm dating myself, we had encyclopedias, like these
yes.
huge kind of books where we were looking for information there. So that was our bread and butter. I would ask this question, why and what and where. And, just growing up in an encyclopedia and then watch documentaries and then have this discussion, that's all. So I always wanted to see how things work. And that's why I was
Mm.
breaking that, right? And the first thing you do is break and see what's inside
Yes,
and then try
yeah,
to put it together
completely. Mhm.
before your mom realizes what you've done. But at the same time, I'm from Greece. I was born and raised in
Mhm.
Athens. And I went to middle school and high school here. And in Greece, we need to decide what we want to do when we grow up, quote unquote, as what we want to study early on in life. By the end of high school, and then take an exam to get to the school we decide to go to. And there's no turning back. This is one
Mm.
of those things where you have to take one of the
Oh,
most critical decisions of your life at a very early stage.
wow.
But
It's
at some
different.
point,
Mhm.
it's different and it's, there's pressure there because how many 18-year-olds, I mean, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. That's just a bad joke. I'm very happy where I am. But at some point, I figured out that I loved nature. And at school, I was a good student across the board, but I loved physics. So when the time came for me to choose, I chose to become a physicist exactly because physics is describing how the world works around us. And that was my calling. I really loved it. People think that physics is difficult, math is difficult. It's much, much easier than learning a language, a foreign language, because foreign languages, even English, they have so many exceptions in every single rule that is a headache, whereas physics
Yeah.
has specific,
Set.
rules that you
Mhm.
follow. And based on them, everything that's happening in nature works. It has a very straightforward and actually connected in my mind, in my brain. So I was an undergraduate at the physics department of the University of Athens in Greece. It's a really big school. So in my year, there was 230 students. Just
Oh,
imagine,
wow.
right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really big. So there, we don't have, say, majors.
Mm.
We all become physicists, but so you couldn't become a major in astronomy or a major in
Oh,
computer
I see.
science
Yes, yes,
through
yes. You're
that,
a
or a
physicist.
major in
Mhm.
technical. You're a physicist, but it, it is mandatory to have a thesis, an undergraduate thesis, and there you get to choose what you want to do. You could do nuclear physics, solid state physics, and I chose astronomy simply because I was just curious. What on earth
Mhm.
are they doing? How are they figuring out what's going on up in the universe, right? mind you, I grew up in a big city, so I never
Saw
saw
stars
the
probably.
night sky,
Yeah.
stars,
Yeah.
right? I could see the moon, the sun, maybe Jupiter, a couple of stars, that's it. But I was just curious. So I did my thesis in astronomy. And boy, I'm going to tell you all, just stay away because it's a big attraction. It's addictive. It's really addictive.
Oh, I
You
could
start
imagine. It's the
exploring.
universe.
It's the universe.
Yeah.
It's like, you're Sherlock Holmes and you're trying to
Mm.
explore with a teeny tiny amount of data. And then you're building on what other people have built before.
Wow.
And so this kind of thing, I'm like, I want to do that. And
Mm.
even my undergraduate thesis advisor said, sure, but you might not find a job doing astronomy. And I said, I will.
I'm gonna
Figure
figure it
it
out.
out.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out, but that's what I want to do. And, that's my superpower, being stubborn
Mm.
and wanted to having a good intuition. So I chose Indiana. We knew about the astronomy department at IU Bloomington. So I'm a Hoosier.
Mm.
I went there to work with specific people, and the things that I really loved about Indiana, where do I get started? It's small, but not really. So
Yeah.
the town itself has its own life when students are not around. People are so amazing. They're so friendly. They make you feel welcome and make you feel very warm and make you feel
Mm.
safe, which is really important for me, just coming from the one side of the ocean to
I
the other and just being
Yes,
there by myself.
completely.
Something,
Yeah.
hi, I'm here,
Yeah, you need
right?
community. You need someone there
you
that's warm. Yeah.
you need to want to feel safe, right? If
Mhm.
something happens to me, who should I talk to? I can talk to my mom, but she's like an ocean away. She can't exactly
Yeah.
drive there. But at the same time, the astronomy department is a research institute, meaning that we're learning from researchers.
Mm.
And also, Indiana is not exactly the most clear skies area in the United States. There's a lot of bad weather going through. U Bloomington, the astronomy department, has access to cutting edge technology telescopes at Kitt Peak in Arizona. Dark
Oh,
Side's modern instruments, since the department is small, when
cool.
I was there, now they have expanded. When I was there was 7 professors, and only 2 of them were using those facilities. I'm like, I get guaranteed time. I
Yeah.
get to,
Go
as
see
an
it. Yes.
observational astronomer,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
get to take my own data. I get to learn from the process. I get to make mistakes. No one really likes that, but we learn by making mistakes. So it was a fantastic opportunity. I spent 6 years at IU Bloomington. I didn't want to leave. My thesis advisor, I was having so much fun, seriously.
Mm.
My thesis advisor was like, you cannot exactly retire being a graduate student. That's not how things happen. So at some point, congratulations, here's your PhD. Now go and give
Get
it your
out.
best
Yeah, get
because
gone.
like, you're fired. Go. So that's the longest version of the story. And never looked back, really, Alexis.
Mm.
I love my preparation. And, it's not just that I learned about the universe and I learned how to do research in a couple of things. There's so many skills that you get when you are in school from doing research in terms of finding literature research that is
Yes.
relevant to your subject, giving presentations, marketing yourself and your research, building collaborations and leading
Mm.
groups to being able to build a project and carry it all the way to the end where you're writing a manuscript or you're writing a thesis. So
Mhm.
these are skills that they don't intentionally teach you at school, but you get along the way.
Yeah. It
And
happens with
you
it. It's
can,
just part of it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Ah, no, I love that, Stella. I love that. I also love how you called yourself the Stella Phenomenon right off the get-go of
Oh
trouble and
my
the
gosh.
I
I'm
think
still
that's amazing.
still surprised because I was a good kid, but
Mm.
I was a troublemaker. I was really doing dangerous things.
I
And my
think
mom
that's
had a
any
gas stove.
I think that's any
So,
young scientist, I
so
think, right? Like, I really do. I think you are trouble when you're young because you're just so curious and you wanna understand the natural world, and I love that answer that you fell in love with the natural world and wanted to know the big questions because I think that's what physics is about, is the big questions of the universe and the big,
and the teeny tiny one.
yes, it's true. It's on all scales, but it starts so large and it's I mean, I always think, because I'm a geologist, I always go a little biased that I'm like, "Oh, we go big, but we don't go as big as physics. You guys take us and go even bigger than that and talk about the origins of the universe." And it's just so cool. So I love that you discovered that, fell in love with it, and then just didn't look back. I also love that you fell in love with astronomy after living in Athens and maybe not having stars, but just being like, "You know what? I think I'm interested in this, and I think that there's something about this that I wanna learn more." So I love that aspect of the answer as well. I think
Oh
it's so
gosh,
cool.
I'm gonna tell you a story here.
Yes, please.
Very first time I was at Kid Peak with my peace advisor as a graduate
Mm,
student, right? It was horrible. It was during monsoon season. It was cloudy everywhere. For 4 nights, could not
ugh.
use the telescope. I got back. I was so depressed. And we got more telescope. That was the end of July, August, right? So we
Mm,
got more telescope time that year in September. So we walked in there in September. It was perfect.
yeah.
Clear skies, beautiful. The whole sky wouldn't move. You could go out. We see stars twinkling.
Mhm.
That's because there's turbulence in the air. So as the starlight goes through our atmosphere, that's how,
Oh, I
nothing is
didn't know that.
moving.
Oh, that's
So I
crazy.
had
Okay.
perfect observing conditions. And, we're taking data and project and oh my gosh, so excited. And at some point I'm like, I'm going to go outside and look at the night sky, just experience it and bathe in it. And,
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Be
as a
there
city
with it. Yes.
person,
Yes, totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mystical experience. I go out 3 seconds, everyone's walking there in the control room. My peace advisor was there, telescope operator was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are clouds coming in. And they were really serious because the weather patterns that you pick are the reason why the turbulence can actually clear off is because you can have the strong winds that actually clears everything up. But because of that,
Oh.
sometimes you can form clouds really fast
Ah,
if there is
yes, like
a
right there.
front coming through.
Mhm.
And people need to know, right? And you have to close the telescope within half an hour because otherwise it's dangerous. You can get
Wow.
rained. So telescope operator was like, oh my goodness, she was checking the weather monitor, she was checking humidity, she was checking radar, she's like, you had one of the best nights I've seen this year, right? It's no turbulence, etc. So my peace advisor was like, okay, so let's go outside and see, where the clouds are coming from. So we go outside and they showed him the sky and he turns to me and he said, this is the center of the Milky Way galaxy and it's going to stay there. It was the first time I saw a center of our galaxy. And I think it was a cloud. He never let me forget that.
No, no,
I grabbed
that
him.
story is never going away.
I'm like, fine, go back. Duh. First time I
Oh my
swear.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, but that you're never gonna forget that either. Like, that
Oh,
center of the
no.
galaxy is gonna be part of your brain forever, and I love that. Not the panic, but yes, you have to shut down. Like, you have to shut yeah, clouds are coming, like, we need to go. And then them to be like, "No, you silly kid. That's the galaxy.
Exactly.
That's what it looks like. That's what we're
Exactly.
studying." Oh my
Supposed
goodness,
to be
that's
there.
funny. And
Yeah.
Stella, this is maybe an aside, but just because I've seen telescopes from movies, but I've never seen them in
Mm,
real life, these observatory
mm.
centers. What do they look like? Could you describe them?
Okay, so let's start with the movies, right? So
Okay.
the observatories look like that, actually in the
Mhm.
middle of nowhere, literally nowhere. Most of the times they're the desert, up at the mountaintop. So you're trying to get above as much atmosphere as you can, and you want dry conditions. You don't want any condensation on your mirrors or any rain or any bad
Yeah.
weather. So the
Okay.
sites are being selected very, very carefully. So they have two different parts, most observatories. They have a part where the telescope is hosted. So this is the dome of the telescope. The telescope itself is in there. And that is kept dark. So as dark as you can, lights off.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
nothing in there because what you want is to get light from stars,
Mhm.
right? You don't want anything destroying that, putting any extra background in your
Mhm.
data. Now, most of those telescopes have digital cameras on them, and they're actually very similar to the camera that you have on your phone.
Oh,
It's
cool. That's
telephone.
very
It's a
okay.
CCD camera. So
Yeah.
in order to take pictures, you attach that to the telescope. So since that is digital, everything is being controlled and fed from remotely through a computer. And those computers are being hosted to a room that is right next to the telescope that is called control room. And
Okay.
this is where you have all the monitors that control the way that the telescope moves.
Ah,
They also
yes.
have
Okay.
sensors for temperature and humidity and all kinds of weather quote unquote conditions inside and outside the dome. So you
Mm.
need to find equilibrium, making sure that the dome itself has a slit or something, moves with the telescope as the sky rotates,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
the location is changing. And this is a place where we control the cameras, the little instrument, and we take data. So usually the person who does that is the astronomer. So I would sit
Mm.
in front of a computer and tell the computer, okay, tell my telescope operator, we want to go to that star. Actually, he or she would move the telescope towards that direction. And I'm very lucky, by the way, parentheses. I've had primarily women operators and I've learned so
Oh,
much from them. Yeah,
very cool. I didn't
it's
expect that.
amazing.
That's awesome.
Oh
Yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing.
it's we have lots of really great conversations. I am grateful to my team's advisor for teaching me data and telescopes, etc. But I learned a lot of how to observe from my telescope operators. They're rock stars, really. So you would give your telescope operator the coordinates. She would actually move their whole thing where you're supposed to be and keep monitoring it. And then, as an astronomer, you stand in front of a computer and you control pretty much how the camera behaves, what kind of data you want to use as data come in, as pictures or whatever it is comes through. You check them to make sure that they have at least the preliminary information that you need, and then you store them somewhere. So one of the things I don't like about the movie is that they show the astronomer at the dome with an eyepiece, and you don't do science this way nowadays
Yeah.
with big
No.
telescopes. That's
Yes.
one. And the second one that kind of upsets me sometimes that they show the astronomer sitting at a desk right next to the telescope with the lights
Mm.
on.
You're like, absolutely not. Yeah, you're like, the light has to be off. There's an operator who's gonna talk to you the entire time. You're working on it together. Yeah, that would bug me too. I'd be like, no, that's not
How
real.
can we get data with the light on in the dome? I mean, it's just looking at it from the stars. So the lamps that you have around that dominate
Mm.
everything. So that is one of the things that really bother me always. When I see, the astronomer right next to a state of the art, huge telescope
Mm.
sitting right next to it with the lights on, pretending to take data of really faint objects.
Yeah, you're like, this is not real. And and maybe the next question, so is like for because your research, you've done so much work and like postdoc these observatories, and you've gone through multiple observatories. I know you've worked down in Chile, you've worked at as a NASA fellow in Washington, at Carnegie, and a bunch of different places that you've worked in these observatories. What type of data are you looking for? Are you looking at luminosity? Like what is the actual kind of properties that you're measuring? And then what's that specialty that you're really looking for when you're looking at that data?
Oh. So these are two different questions. So
Yes, I know.
I'm going to start with the second one.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the second one. So the stars that I'm interested in are called cataclysmic variables. Now, fancy
Okay.
word, fancy words to describe two stars that are very close together, one right next to the other. Right.
Okay.
The one of them is a star like the sun, maybe a little bit smaller, or like a normal little star that's hanging out. And the second one is a very special type of star, and it's called white dwarf. Now,
Okay.
this one is a remnant. It's a dead star, a star that has gone through all its phases, and it has the mass of the sun, let's say, squeezed to the size of the Earth. So it's a
Whoa.
very dense star.
Yes.
So when you
Okay.
put this little white dwarf, and it's very small but very dense, right next to the sun-like star.
Mm.
So if the Earth was a white dwarf, the gravitational field of the Earth would actually start absorbing materials from the sun.
Oh, yes, it would.
So the
Yes, okay,
white
because
dwarf
it's
is
so
eating
dense.
material
Yes.
because it's so dense. It's not just
Yeah.
heavy, it's dense, just the
Yeah.
density thing. So the potential is much higher. So it's cannibalizing its companion in principle. So this is stellar cannibalism at its best, you know.
Cool.
So as it eats material. So what happens to us is a question for you. If
Mm.
you eat too much too quickly, what happens?
You get
You eat
sick
a lot of
usually, or
food
you feel
really.
gross. Yeah.
You throw up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yes, you would. You would.
So
Whoa. Does the stars start putting
really,
out material?
yeah. So what
Oh.
happens to these little white dwarfs? It's so quickly. So the stars are then starting, right? So quickly to the point where it cannot absorb all the material, and there's a certain level of nuclear reactions that are happening in its
Yes.
atmosphere. It just throws up, and it's what we call a nova explosion. You heard about nova?
Yes. Yes, I have. Yes, I
So
have heard of this. Yes,
right,
instantly, like a huge
you know,
explosion.
it just throws up. But like people, those stars don't learn. So it keeps eating again. So some of them so we expect them to show multiple nova eruptions. They eat a lot and they get to that critical mass, they can't handle that food and
Mhm.
throw up again and again and again. So this is what we call recurrent nova.
Cool.
So I'm studying this as well. And actually, have you heard about supernovae?
Yes, I have. Yes.
And a very special type of supernova that we're using in order to measure distances in the universe or measure cosmological parameters. How do we know the universe expanding, for example? These are
Mhm.
type 1a supernovae. And we suspect that the progenitors of those type 1a supernovae is this little white dwarf that keeps eating material from its companion and grows and reaches a certain mass.
Mm.
And that particular mass is very critical to ignite carbon at the very center of the white dwarf. And it leads to a catastrophic explosion. This kills the whole system. Boom, kaboom, wherever. So I'm studying the progenitors of the supernova. I'm
Yes.
studying how mass is being transferred from one star to another. And actually, for my thesis, I was focusing on the poor abused star that was, giving all its mass.
Getting eaten alive. Yeah, just cannibalized star. Yeah. Like, get out of there if you can.
Right. So we study the stars in two different ways. I am an
Okay.
optical astronomer, meaning that the data I was getting where are in wavelengths that you can see with your eye. The thing is that even through the world's most powerful telescope, because the stars are so far away and the two little components are so close, you
Mhm.
still see a dot that's
Oh, okay.
happening.
You see
It's not that
one.
you can dissolve the thing. It's just one.
Mhm.
But because of this kind of mass transferring and all the changes and all the kabooms, etc., if you take enough data over time, the star is doing something different. So you're monitoring its brightness, how bright it is, and it goes up
Mhm.
and down, etc. And that's characteristic of the mass transfer process itself. So
Oh,
you
I
can
see.
learn
Okay.
from there. Also, you can use different filters to just focus on specific parts of light, and that
Of
gives you
those.
different information. So you look in a
Okay.
little bit in the green, a little bit in the red, a little bit in the blue, and then from there you get different information about the whole system. But also we're using, so this is one way of doing it. The
Mm.
second one is we're using things like prisms. Have you played with a prism before?
Yes, yes, I
Prism,
have.
right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
analyzes light and non components. So
Mhm.
we're using something a little bit more sophisticated, which is called a spectrograph.
Okay,
And
yes, I've
through
used a
that,
spectrograph before. Yes, okay.
yeah, there you
Mhm.
go. So, and you spread the light as much as you can to see different elements that exist
Mhm.
in the atmospheres of those stars, and that gives you different information about those. So I was using my telescope to do both taking pictures and taking spectra. And there were other colleagues who were working in different wavelengths. Like there's some people who
Mhm.
work on X-rays, right? With satellite
Mhm.
data. Some people who are using radio with radio data or even infrared, other satellite data. So we synthesize all of those to try to understand the nature of that system.
Yeah.
And mind you, telescopes and this kind of observation that we do is, I mean, those stars have what, 100 years of history, maybe?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and they lived millions of years. So we're trying to assess present, past, and future based on a teeny tiny part of data.
Wow, that's so crazy. Like, it's It's insane on so many things, and thank you for explaining it. I think you did a fantastic job of explaining it to someone who is not it's has no background in astronomy. I'm blown away by that system, and I'm blown away that you get to study kind of a precursor event to a supernova and to see that mass explosion at
Mhm.
its first stages. And I think that's the entire system of a star cannibalizing another one and getting denser
Mhm.
and denser and also having these mini eruptions would be so cool to see in the data. It would be really cool to track it to the history of that
Oh,
star and to see that mass transfer in real life, I think would be incredible. It's very complicated data, though. I could imagine that it's and because of the time distance as well, like you said, the past, future, and that would be very
present,
hard.
but the
Yes, and
present, the
present.
past. It's
Yes.
one of those things, right? So you're looking
Mhm.
back in history. So whatever you're watching sometimes left the star or the star system thousands of years ago, millions of years ago at times. So you're looking at snapshots like space archaeology in a sense. You're
Wow.
looking at the snapshot that be- that happened before, and you're scratching your head of what's going on now, right?
Yeah, you have no
Now, and that
idea.
light will take a couple of million years to come to you. It's just fascinating from a philosophical standpoint as well.
Oh, I could imagine. I feel like you probably had that conversation with other physicists for the end of so many times, and you're probably gonna have that conversation in the future as well, but that's such a different mindset to think. Did it take you a long time to learn how to think about what you're seeing in the present is actually a projection of the past and, like, to put yourself in that past, or is it just something that comes with you when you learn astronomy and physics?
It comes with all of us. It's
Okay.
not just the astronomy. So
Yeah.
at some point, it's like you get used to it. It's not just getting used to it. This is a philosophy. Most of us were looking at data, we're like, oh my gosh, what's happening now, right?
Mhm.
But then when you're thinking that now is not necessarily the present time, okay, sure. What else can we do? How about that? You can't
Yeah.
exactly go there and take a picture live, which we would all be willing to sacrifice their lives to do. Yeah, this is really quite an experience. But, we do the best we can. And from there on, we keep studying the universe, trying and similar objects to try to understand the ensemble, how it functions, how it grows, how they grow, where they came from, what they are. No one has seen one of those going supernova yet.
Oh my goodness. I hope you guys
And
get it soon. That would be so cool to see and to capture, like, just to see that blip. Oh, but it wouldn't be a blip, it would be huge, but it would fingers crossed for you, Stella. I hope that happens soon. I mean, that'll be insane to see it and what a cool system, what a cool thing to study and to ponder. And I know when we're talking about these data and we're talking about these star systems, one of the really cool things that you've been able to work on is AAVSO. And I was wondering if you could
Mhm.
describe the program, the nonprofit, and kind of the mission of it, because it was I think I have it on here from your website. It was exploring the universe and revealing properties of the most dynamic stars, which is like the coolest tagline of all time. Could you explain what the AAVSO is?
I'm going to start by just saying that all the data that I wanted to collect
Mhm.
when I was doing my research, I was using a lot of archival data,
Okay.
data that had been collected in the past and have been documented somewhere for everyone to use. And also, I was collaborating with groups of amateur astronomers who had their
Mm.
own telescopes, so that to help me gather the picture, right? While I was taking the spectra. So I could use one instrument in a telescope. It could not be in a gazillion of places, but those individuals were really taking data, even sometimes in different filters, on the object I was interested in. So there was a lot of collaboration there. And I got my thesis completed exactly because I had access to these kind of databases. Amateur astronomers doing this kind of work for decades before I came in and, recording before I came in as a researcher, and those decades of data in my fingertips to put new data
On
in
top of it.
context.
Yeah.
So AVSO observers have always been part of my research work.
Mm.
I knew the AAVSO as a graduate student. I had collaborated with those individuals because of the database. I got the PhD.
That's
And there are lots
amazing.
of stories of astronomers who can actually tell you that, especially those of us who work in the time domain, things that change with time. So the AAVSO's mission is to enable anyone, anywhere to participate in scientific discovery through variable star astronomy. And variable stars are stars whose brightness is changing with time,
Okay.
within time scales that we can observe. Like the one that's, my star throughout the
Yes.
night would do crazy different things, right? So it's changing. Every time you take a snapshot, you see something that is slightly different. So if you keep observing them, then you kind of start building a puzzle. So the ABSO essentially is bringing together amateur astronomers and professional astronomers to collaborate on projects. And we're talking about high profile projects here. So I've had the privilege of being the executive director of the ABSO for 6 years. And we were working with new satellites like NASA's TESS satellite. When it was first launched, we needed follow-up data on exoplanets, right? We were working with people like me and my colleagues as in, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we think that there's a nova out there. We really need. And actually, when it comes to novae, amateur astronomers were the ones who were noticing them first.
Wow. I
Because
didn't know that.
professionals, yeah, yeah. We were even notified by them something like, so this star's brightness is increasing in a little bit more aggressive way. And then, they would keep observing the star and see the brightness increasing with time. And then professional astronomers would actually jump on it with different instruments. There's a beautiful synergy between a community of individuals who just look at crazy stars.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what the AAVSO is doing. It's actually helping individuals to collaborate, bring together a community of science savvy people who care about the universe. They want to see how stars work. And the thing is, the nice thing with ABSO is that it is citizen science. It's through astronomy, it increases science literacy, brings astronomy in everybody's home. But not only that, provides the means for those non-professional astronomers to actually do their job. So they have software, there's a database where they can put their data,
Amazing.
there's seminars, but also, did you know you can do that yourself?
No, I did not know. No.
If you have a pair of binoculars, that's all it takes. You can actually do this kind of measurement with binoculars, and the AVSO is there to actually hold your hand and teach you how to do it.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to try that this summer. We have binoculars at the cabin. I will 100%.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yes, I tried that when I started at the AVSO. I was gifted a pair of binoculars, and I didn't know, right? Without an automated system, I wouldn't know north from south. Professional astronomers don't know.
You guys look up.
Most of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I'm a city person. So when there's lots of stars together, I can't tell one from the other. I had a mentor and he was standing right next to me with his binoculars, showing me how to star hop and find the star of my interest
Cool.
and do my measurements for the first time I went out. It was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really
And
nice.
what an amazing initiative. When I started
Mhm.
researching you and also the AABSO, I was just blown away by how beautiful that initiative was and how, like you explained, it is this gorgeous synergy between a community that already exists and has always
Right.
exists and linking them and giving them the resources and the database and the tools. And I know that there's also courses and mentorship,
Mhm.
and there's so much resources that they provide to then be able to work
Yep.
hand to hand with professional astronomers. And I
Yep.
just think it's a fantastic initiative, a fantastic not for profit. And I love that they've also been some of the first people to see novas to be like, hey, you
So
guys
yeah,
really need to go over here. That star's getting
yeah,
crazy bright. Please come and see it.
yeah.
That's a
There are
wonderful
lots of
program.
because professional astronomers don't have times or eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
And usually those who are doing volunteers who are doing this work love a night sky. And most of them know their local night sky, just by looking at it. They live in dark places or semi-dark places. So when a little dot appears in the middle of nowhere where it wasn't there, it's like, okay, so what's going on in there? It showcases a star that has done something unusual. So they just go back and say, pock, pock, this one.
This
Maybe you
is
want to pay attention to that little thing there.
yeah.
And, this is how collaborations like that. And not only that, I mean, these are individuals, again, who are using astronomy as a hobby. So they have their day job and they need to actually flush the day job from their brain for a couple of hours. They go out, they take data, or they take data from the databases and they analyze them and they go back and take follow-up data. So there have been discoveries that have improved our knowledge or actually revised our knowledge on certain stars exactly because non-professional astronomers, amateur astronomers were paying attention and they were
Amazing.
just doing stuff, right?
Ah, I love that. I think that is so freaking cool. And speaking
Mhm.
to those discoveries, like, has there been something, one of those discoveries that stands out for you of being like, that was the most exciting
Mm.
or the most unexpected? Maybe it was your type of stars. Maybe it was bias that you were
Yes,
like, thank you for helping me out.
exactly. So apart from the fact that, they have been monitoring some of my favorite stars, when I was at the AAVSO, group of people, they were I'm trying to see where they were. They were in Finland, it wasn't Finland, Germany,
Okay.
and the UK, something like that. So they were, they took a star. I don't know how they chose it. They chose a star that was classified as a specific type of variable star. They said, we're going to take a look at it again. Let's take some more data.
Mhm.
So to build up more of that database. And they used their own telescopes and they found that there's something bizarre with that star. The data were not converging. The older data was showing one thing, the newer data was showing another thing. And based on the cataloged type of that star, they the description of the data didn't fit. And then like, okay, so what's going on in here? So they contacted a professional astronomer in the UK, in Warwick. And I said, listen, there's this star here. Can you take a look at, do you have access to different instruments? They can
Yeah.
have a look at it. And this started a study, a collaboration between the two. Turns out that this star was the evolutionary link between two different categories of cataclysms that was hypothesized,
Oh, so
but
cool. You never captured
we
it.
never had it proved, never captured it. It's like a white dwarf pulsar. So this is a star
Oh.
that has the white dwarf has a very, very strong magnetic field
Because
and
it's
it's
so
spinning
dense.
really, really
Yes.
fast.
Okay.
It's dense, but its magnetic field is strong as well.
Mm.
It's spinning really, really, really fast. And it's between different stages of evolution. I'm going to leave it there.
Okay.
They discovered a new category that we were craving to find because it was essential for, you tell a story. This is
Yeah.
how the star
The
was
middle part
born and
was
blah, blah,
missing.
blah. It was evolved, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Then a miracle happened, blah, blah, blah. So they found a little miracle.
Oh,
It was the coolest thing ever. Witness it going because I was part of the emails that were going back and forth. Just to witness it. I'm like, and that happened because people, like three individuals, decided they just want to pay attention to this little star that was classified as net. And
oh
it
my
turned out to be
goodness.
a rock star.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I love when people are just so freaking cool. Like, you're just like, I love that your passion for this one star and your kind of focus on it had a huge impact, right? Like, it just sounds like something serendipitous or something coincidental, but then it turns into this amazing discovery for science, an amazing marriage between professional and amateur. I think that's
It,
wonderful. Oh, what a
it is.
cool finding, and I hope that there's many more to come. I hope that there's many
Oh, I'm
more.
sure.
I'm sure there will be. Maybe that's where the nova comes from. Maybe it comes from AAVSO.
It's- This one, if this one becomes a nova, then we change everything we know about nova. It's unlikely, but at
Okay.
the same time, it's not. It's you never know, right?
Mm. That was
I
my
mean,
I'm not an astronomer. I don't know, but I was just hoping
but
for your
you're a
big fish.
scientist.
Yeah.
See, you're a scientist. So what we do in science is that we observe nature, we describe it.
Mhm.
If nature at some point, and we make theories about it, we think we know how things work. If nature showcases a different behavior, then we missed something. So
Yeah.
we have to go back to our drawing board and actually discuss a little bit more and think a little bit more about what we thought we knew, what the new data is taking us. And this is how actually science works. So when a scientist comes out, and it's not just in astronomy or physics, or
It's in all
even,
science. Yes.
even
Yeah.
recently, right? We were talking about COVID, and
Mhm.
we were learning as scientists as we went, seriously.
Mhm.
No one was lying. Everybody was like, okay, so now we have new data. Oh, now we
Yeah.
have a year of data,
Completely.
right?
Yeah.
So this evolves, it just keeps going. And that's the beauty of science. If
Mhm.
not anything else, it keeps us humble. You can't go out and say, oh, I know everything or I figured it out.
Yeah. No.
Okay, you can say it, but nature can actually learn you.
In a natural system, there's no way. Nature's gonna humble you very, very quickly. Like there's absolutely zero ways. You're right. Science is always changing. It's always something that we're discovering. And I just think that this is a beautiful initiative. And I love that that's what you found. I love that finding that you found that rock star. I hope you have,
They did.
well,
I was
they
just
did. Yes.
observing the
Yeah.
whole thing unfolding, which was absolutely fascinating.
Ah, it's amazing. It's an amazing program. I hope there's many more of those in the future of it. And I know right now something a little bit different, but you're also with another amazing institution and another
Mhm.
amazing society, which is the AMS, which is the American Meteorological Society, where you're the CEO. Could you describe that society, its mission, and its founding?
Yes. So I transited to the AMS because I fell in love with the mission.
Mhm.
So the mission of the American Meteorological Society is to advance the atmospheric and related sciences, technologies, applications, and services for the benefit of society.
Wow.
And it has some really very intentional words in there. It's advance, as in move forward in a purposeful way, develop, improve, and focus on evidence-based science, right? Benefits, be of service to, and make an improvement of our society. This
Mhm.
is actually real life issues. These are things that we care about. It's weather, it's water, it's climate.
Mhm.
And the word society has equity, diversity, and inclusion, and it's social justice in it.
Mhm.
It states that in principle, anyone anywhere should be able to benefit from the ANS's work. And it's something that, resonated with me because I'm an astronomer. I'm looking at the universe. The universe is vast. I can produce knowledge. But
Mhm.
the AMS in principle is keeping people safe.
Yes,
How
completely.
many times can you do that, right?
Yeah.
Through, we're experiencing a rapid weather phenomena right now. These weather broadcasts, weather models, trying to understand atmospheric phenomena that are insane and even how they evolve with time and these long-term trends that is climate in
Mhm.
principle and how it's affecting us as a society, as people, as everyday lives. I mean, it can be disruptive, affects everything that we
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So the AMS's work is actually doing exactly that. And at some point, I was like, I want to give something back to society. I
Mhm.
want to do something that is helping save lives, helping improve our quality of life. Astronomy does that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the knowledge that we have, the knowledge that we gain, even understanding the scientific process is exciting. It's fun,
Yes. Yeah.
but it doesn't exactly from keep you healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't affect your livelihood or your economy. When think about, weather, right? It's in every single aspect of life. Think about transportation mobility. Think about infrastructure and housing. We talked about health and safety. Talk about even psychologically it affects us, property damage, loss of life, disruptions to our daily life. It actually
Everything.
can affect, it
Everything.
does affect mental health, right?
Yeah.
And social dynamics within our community. So it's so important that at some point when I had the opportunity and I was ecstatic when I was actually
Yes.
offered this particular position, I'm like, I'm going to take it. It may take me a little bit far away from the research that I love. But at the same time, right now as a researcher, I just want to know answers. Doesn't matter if I don't do it. Just someone else needs to actually figure it out and tell me. So I can keep following that.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can actually give to the AMS whatever I can in order for this society to grow and to keep moving forward and helping science come up with this viable solution for our society. For
Yeah. No, I love that, and thank you for explaining that so well because I couldn't agree more with the AMS and what it represents because it's a foundation society that does so much good for all of society and all of our communities, right? And it really has impactful science because, like you said, climate and weather and water, that affects every
Hmm.
single aspect of our lives and of our communities and of our economy and of our country. So it's so important to have a foundational understanding of it. And and I love the idea of wanting to have impact and wanting to help people and that being the mission of it.
Yes. And it helped me think about our planet in a different way, right? Um, Astronomy provides you space exploration, provides you perspective, but just see how dynamic, how interdependent our whole system is, our whole planet is. So, oceans, this is a water side, right? Things start from the oceans. We're trying to understand how things still move and for a hurricane, for example, is a thing that is a thing. Sorry, keep calling it thing.
No,
It's not
it's
a
okay.
thing. Okay, erase that. So for a hurricane, there's a system that starts building up in the middle of the ocean and then it moves and it gains power as it moves. And then there's landfalling, right?
Mhm,
For the US, it's usually Florida or perhaps a little bit towards the west. But just even understanding how this thing moves and how it grows and how it builds up
mhm.
help us improve models for prediction.
Yes.
And when we make right predictions, we warn people earlier or
Yeah.
we prepare our infrastructure to be able to survive this kind of a phenomenon. So it's just an example, one example on how we study this kind of things. And I've met so many amazing people as part of the AMS. I've been there for a year and a half now. Did you know they're individuals who jump on planes and take the plane and drive through the hurricane to take data?
No, I did not. I couldn't imagine that conversation to be like, "You know what? That's gonna be
Oh,
me." I couldn't
that's what
imagine that
yeah,
personality. Yeah.
it's, oh, they're so cool. And I
Yeah.
told them, I bet bucket list item.
Mhm.
I want to do that with you
Once.
guys. Like, what?
Yeah.
Let me try it once and maybe I'll get an appetite for it. It's like extreme sports, but in this case, it's like extreme science. You just on a plane, flying through anything.
Oh my
And you measure,
goodness.
you take real time, real life data. You have all kinds of measurements. It's insane. And then the whole world is running away from storms, but there are lots of scientists are going towards storms and there's set instruments to study them. And it takes a certain kind of courage to
Oh, completely.
even do that, right? And then
100%.
those who are, and now AI is really big, machine learning in how to process all this data they're coming from satellites and lots of radar data and satellites and meteorological satellites out there. And the data is collected from the earth and build this kind of database, something that's so dynamic and so related to us, right?
Mhm.
I can tell you about cataclysmic variables, all I know. You won't see one. I won't see one. But if I told you about a snowstorm, chances are, if
Yeah.
you're in another hemisphere, a little bit north, you have been in one of
Yeah,
them, right? And you
we
have
get a
been
couple.
affected.
Yeah, we get a couple in Canada, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Right. So things like that. So it has to do with phenomena that are part of our everyday life.
Yeah.
So you can connect with people through that. But at the same time, you can provide some advice and some ways for them to protect themselves and their families
Ugh.
and their property.
Yeah, what amazing. No, it's an amazing society and an amazing data set and use of data
Yeah.
set. And I did not know about those rock stars that go into a hurricane or go into
Yeah.
a storm. But you know what? It's a unique personality for sure. I don't know if it would be for me. I don't know if that's my type of science, but we need those people. And that data is so valuable because you can actually understand a system on a more nuanced degree. And then the impact that you can have because you've now understand that system, like you said, for prevention, for infrastructure, for
Right.
emergency response, like you can have a true impact on your community. I think it's
Right.
fantastic.
So the American Meteorological Society is a professional society, meaning that we have individuals of all aspects of life who are working forward towards producing good science. So we have academics.
Mm,
We also have individuals from the private sector, private companies, meteorologists,
mhm,
literally private journals. We have individuals from the government. We have NGOs. And actually, we have a public outreach space. So in principle, anyone can become a member of the AMS if they want to. And we do serve science through our programs, which are scientific publications. We have some of the biggest journals in the weather, water, climate enterprise. We have conferences, which are venues where scientists are coming together to discuss scientific, sorry about that,
That's good.
conferences where venues where scientists are coming together to discuss scientific results and collaborate. We have formal statements, policy statements, which represent society's official position on subjects of interest. We have a very active education program, which is actually built on the principle of educating the educators, K through 12 teachers, providing them with courses and knowledge that they could actually take into their classrooms. So individuals who are advancing their teaching skills and become a leader in their science education, and then they take all this knowledge and incorporate it into students' learning activities. And also we have career services. We're trying to empower and develop the workforce of the present and the future. There are lots of really well-paid jobs out there that have to do with meteorology, have to do with weather, with atmospheric sciences, from high technical to research-based that, and actually the future is more of that, right? So we're trying to help our younger members to find the career that they would like to follow, or pivot from one career to another.
That's it's amazing. And I had a couple questions, but I think we already kind of touched on them a little bit. But it's amazing how much that you get to do with the AMS. And you guys are there with community, with education. You said your publications. They're like be all end all publications within this space. They're hugely impactful. So that's wonderful of your AMS publications. I mean, for jobs and for career fair. But one thing, because we're just almost at the top of the hour, I just wanted to maybe touch on maybe some of the major initiatives that you guys are doing right now, because I know that one aspect is a community initiative and you have different AMS committees throughout the country, right? Like you have different groups throughout the country, but you also have policy and government. Is there any initiatives in policy and government or in community that you guys are working on right now?
So there, we do have a couple of initiatives going on. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we're doing, and they are related to a couple of, I guess, coincidences. The first one is, well, we have a new executive director now at the AMS. I came on board a year ago, and we're emerging from COVID, right? COVID has affected everybody, personal lives, private lives, and also nonprofits, business lives, in ways that we just did
Didn't
not
know. Yeah.
predict. And even the fact that the AMS emerged from COVID in a way that, business as usual, keep moving forward, showcases how agile it is and how we can actually navigate even the most disruptive times in a way that is graceful, to say the
Yes.
least.
Yeah.
We can actually emerge stronger. So one of the things that we're doing at the AMS is an equity assessment. And a little bit of the background, the AMS was one of those societies that started thinking about minorities and women's rights before the thing. We started about 50 years ago with a committee
That's
of
amazing.
women and minorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, which evolved to the board to become nowadays a board of representation, inclusion, and diversity. And also we have a cabinet for inclusion and diversity at the AMS, which is kind of at the governance level. And we have been doing a lot of good things, bringing together those communities with community, women, of course, and Hispanic, everybody has a space at the end.
Fantastic.
But at the same time, it's always good to actually take a critical step back and assess and figure out whether all the things that we're doing and we keep doing because of inertia or because enthusiasm, etc. Number one, are we reaching our community? Are we having the impact we think we have? Number two, where are we standing? What is our grade right now when it comes to equity? And focusing on equity because it has both diversity, belong, justice, everything under that
Yes, it's
umbrella.
the umbrella term. It is the
It
BLM.
is the umbrella.
Yeah.
Right. And then what are our blind spots? We don't know what we don't know, right? And how are we going to find out?
Yeah.
So we are collaborating with the external consultants to run an equity assessment this year.
Fantastic.
It is in progress, and it's going to be the baseline of everything that we are planning to do in the future. We're also engaging with a strategic plan for the society. So by the time the strategic plan starts, the equity assessment outcomes will be ready.
Mm.
And, for us, equity is a value. It's a core value.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
like a thing or a program or one
No.
thing we need to do,
No, no, no.
check a box or something. It's something that needs to permeate across every single program we have. And we're going to approach the outcomes of this equity assessment with humility and trying to kind of not be too defensive when we hear harsh truths. Because the bottom line is that we want to improve what we're already doing. We want to be better. We want to be stronger. We want to build the society, the community that we want to
Mhm.
see represented in
Yeah, that
sciences and
represents
society.
us. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. So we want to just to build those safe spaces where everybody feels comfortable to come and interact and learn and grow and have fun. I mean, science is fun. And feel proud of what we are and have the good conversations, the
Mhm.
difficult conversation. So that's an inspiration.
I love
We're hoping we're going to make progress. So this is one of the things we're doing, and we're going through a strategic plan process because again, it's a good time, right time to take another critical step back and see the AMS past the COVID era, which
Mhm.
hopefully we are in the past
I hope so.
post
Yes,
COVID post
I think
COVID era
hopefully. Yes.
because
Yeah.
yeah,
That's amazing. And I think that that initiative and that equity assessment and then strategic plan going forward, I think it's a wonderful mindset of what equity is, where you want to go, what's your
yep,
inspiration, and how it's going to permeate through all of culture and every single aspect of the AMS because the AMS is so multifaceted and you guys do so many different things. But I think what's
yeah,
fantastic about that is that it's going to help the community
yeah.
of AMS, but also your impact towards the community because you'll have a better holistic understanding and a holistic group of people doing that data and doing those decisions. But I also think it's going to help the science as well. You'll also probably get better science. So it's a fantastic initiative. And I think that it's something that's amazing to see from a society like AMS with hopefully if you guys do this, more will follow, right? And we'll take you as the example.
That's one of the things that we're hoping as well, because we are all as professional scientists, we all care about diversifying the voices of our in our society to be more reflecting of what's in our communities. And usually the hard part is to get a neutral, what's the word I'm looking for? A neutral view of who we are and what
Yeah.
you're doing. Because usually what happens is that we are inside the system and we are assessing our system.
Yes.
So as a scientist, what you need is to be able to see the system from
Outside.
the outside, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we are attempting to do in executive assessment, to actually see our system from the outside in. And it's not only representation that we have in our community, our membership, our community in general, but also our practices, right? We have all these documents and all these policies and all these procedures. Are they equitable? We never had that particular lens, and
Yes.
some of them
Yeah.
are like decades old, and
Yeah.
we've just been amending them with all kinds of things. So let's take another look at them. The world has changed. Are we really addressing everyone when we have those policies? Are we keeping everyone safe? Is there something that we're missing? Actually, we know there's something we're missing. What are we
Yes.
missing?
Yeah, completely.
We start with that, right?
Where's our
So
blind
what
spot?
exactly?
Yes, we know it
Right,
exists.
what's a
Yeah.
blind spot? And also, how can we improve it? How we move it forward? And for us, the outcome is not going to be just a binder that you're going to put on a bookshelf and leave it there. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, now we
Yeah.
did an assessment. Yay. It's a baseline for us to measure against ourselves every year moving forward. So we're going to be going through that process every 4 to 6 years and actually reassess ourselves as in, okay, so we have those goals. How successful have we been? What was the challenge along the way? What kind of resources we keep needing, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really excited about that. I'm
Ugh,
really looking forward to seeing see the
yeah.
answer. What's the answer?
100%. You just see
And
the
then
data.
and see how that is going to affect the future of the AMS. We have a lot of work to do. We're doing a lot of good work,
Yeah.
and it's based on the effort of there's an army of volunteers
Yeah.
at the AMS, and of course, amazing staff. I have to tell you, my colleagues. amazing.
Yes, 100%.
And at the same, so we're just keep moving.
That's amazing, and I love to hear that. I love that that's the initiative. I wish you nothing but the best. I can't wait for your data to come back to you. I'm excited to see what it's gonna look like in the next 5 years and just to keep tabs on it and to see where you guys are gonna go. I think that's so amazing, and I know kinda maybe the last one, and this is our last question, and maybe it's a little bit of a lofty question, but if you could take this energy of the equity assessment and the future of the AMS, where would you see maybe the future of meteorology or the future of astronomy? Where would be kind of your hope for the future of the industry as a whole? Where would you hope that we go?
I hope that we will stop having the equity discussion sometimes
Mm,
because the norms have changed and we all played nicely and we respect each other in our interactions and we include each other in our projects in our lives. I know that it's overarching and you know, I've been in the working in the equity world one way or another for the last 25 years, right? And there are people who have been involved much, much more than I have. And we're still having the same
yeah,
discussions, still having the same
yeah,
question. And it's like, it's exhausting, but you have to keep forward.
yeah.
I want us to stop having those discussions because we don't have to anymore.
Mm-mm.
And that is going to improve science immensely because diversity of opinions, diversity of voices, diversity of ways of thinking is what science needs in order to be more innovative, in order to take into account all parameters, in order to actually strengthen itself and come up with solutions, with models, with recommendations,
Yeah.
even with person influencers, right? We
Yes.
need the right
Yeah.
role models for the
Yes.
younger individuals who are there and they're craving to see a person who looks like that and speaks like
Mhm.
similar being successful. So that's what I'm hoping for all sciences for that matter, or for all aspects of our society. Now, we all live on the same planet. It's one system.
Yes.
It's one system. There is so there's northern southern hemisphere. We're not bound by man-made boundaries. We need to take care of it.
Mm.
And one of the things that astronomy has taught us and the whole exploration space is that Earth is a very unique place. I mean, right now, a big theme in space exploration is looking in our own solar system to uh, find Earth-like conditions for
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Let's look at life somewhere else. How does it evolve? Does it have a chance? And in people's dreams, we have colonized the moon, colonized Mars. We
Mars.
have
Yes,
different
exactly.
alternatives to go
Yeah.
there. We even went to Europa. I mean, if you like ice skating, I see planet. Boom, go there.
Canada moves to
But
Europa. Yeah.
you see, right? It's not people completely fine. Just a small detail that doesn't have enough. But at the same time, the, the closest planet, actually, the closest star to our solar system that hosts a planet like our Earth
Mm.
in the habitable zone of the star is at least 25 trillion miles.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
There's no Earth 2.0.
Wow.
This planet is so unique that we really need to protect it. And this planet is our responsibility, actually. So we really need to make sure that as we benefit from its beauty and its food and its nurture and everything else, we will leave it to other generations in the future to benefit from it as well. So that's why I think this is where the AMS's role is very critical,
Mhm.
provide all the parameters that we need, models, information science, so that we can actually come up with educated decisions for our quality of life and also for politics, right?
Yes.
People
For
affect politics
yeah.
and actually demand a green planet and better care, take care of our planet and make sure that we are building something we can leave to future generations without
Yeah. No, what an amazing answer, Stella. And thank you so much for that. And I love that call out of how special Earth is because I do think that that's something that you'll probably gripe with in the movies that you see colonization of Mars and colonization of the moon and people think that it's going to be within our lifetime that you could go and you can live on Mars and to have that reference from someone like yourself to be like, look, this is how far away it is that the next one that could be either similar to Earth. We really have one shot here and this is it and we need to take care of it.
And you look at movies, right?
Mhm.
The way they depict the colony of the moon, the colony of Mars, and it's actually, it's really very impressive.
Mhm.
You can actually jump around and a different planet
Yeah.
and so exciting, but they look like labs.
Yes, they
Where
do.
can you find a forest, right? Where can you go swimming? Swimming in a swimming pool, whatever.
Mhm.
Where can you go swimming in the ocean? Where can I actually eh, drive through wildlife and see, a deer right in front of you? Where can you breathe the air, look up in the sky and see its beauty,
Mhm.
right? This planet is amazing. And even seeing what civilizations have left for us, this is we are as a species, we're an amazing species, and
Mm.
we are capable for great good and for a lot of innovation and culture and beauty, but we are also capable for a lot of construction.
Yes.
And this is where we really need to be a little bit careful.
Yeah.
So even if we had a colony on the moon or Mars, I'm not really sure that I would be interested in living there because
Yeah.
why should I? I haven't been to Africa yet. I want
Yeah.
to go back to New Zealand.
Yes.
I love my home country,
Yeah.
Greece. And, I want to explore Europe more. And the United States, such a beautiful, beautiful and diverse when it comes to its landscape place. And I have been to Canada. I have actually family in Toronto
Oh,
and
okay.
absolutely adore
Oh,
it.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, I can't have enough of this planet.
Yes.
Want to go
Ah,
somewhere?
I love that, and I love that energy of it because agreed. I wanna go to Greece. I've never been to Greece. I wanna see
Sure. See,
yeah, I wanna see the, like, biodiversity. I wanna see the Northern Lights again. I've only seen them once. I would love to see that
I
again.
haven't seen that. I want to see the Northern Lights.
How have you never
I
seen
a
them?
bucket list because we're
Stella,
not north enough.
I guess, but
Exactly.
you're that's your job. You should go see the
I
Northern
know.
Lights.
I know. So, there's so much we can experience here.
Yeah.
I want to taste different foods and I want to meet
Mhm.
different people and ask them questions about their lives and aspirations. I don't want to go live on Mars. It will feel like I'm in a rat lab.
Oh, yeah, I would feel like I was back at work. I would feel like I was on a boat again. It's very sterile
Yeah.
living on a lab, and there's nothing wrong with it,
Right.
but that's not where I wanna live most of my life, not in a lab.
Good. Very good.
Uh,
Same here. Same here.
well, Sarah, thank you so much, and thank you for a wonderful answer on both the DEI and kind of where the future where you want that to be and that we've moved past it, and then also the future of protecting this world and kind of the future hope of the AMS and being able to have that impact in protecting this world. And just thank you for your time. This was a lovely interview. It was so nice to meet you. I learned so much. I hope people listening also learned so much. I know that they did. And just thank you again for coming out on the show. I appreciate it immensely.
Oh, it's a great pleasure for me as well. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you for a lovely chat. What a wonderful time to, wonderful way to spend one's afternoon, right?
I couldn't agree more. I loved it. I'm gonna rave about this forever. I have so many things to Google. I am probably gonna email you a million times being like, "What about this star? What about that?" So, apologies for
Absolutely.
your inbox.
Anytime, anytime.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, and thank you guys for listening. This was the Smoko podcast. Please tune in next week. Thank you again, and bye, Stella. It was absolutely lovely talking to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye, guys.